Hello and welcome back to art class. Today we're going to be wrapping up our picture. A couple things. First thing we need to do is you're going to go in and look for anything that needs to be touched up. So in my particular case, I haven't finished the hands, so I would go in. Maybe add some feet, things like that. So that's what I'm going to do first. The other thing is to go in and get rid of any lines that don't need to be there. So you just want to do some cleanup work before we do anything else. The other thing I would like you to do is put a little bit of a background to this. And what I mean by this, here's an example. I don't like that this is floating in midair because that's really kind of weird. So I'm going to just use a straight edge. So in this case, I'm using a box here. And now it looks like it's sitting on a table edge, okay? And I can add some other details. So like here in mine, I'm gonna add a little card that says how much it is. Just kind of breaks up the background a little bit, makes it a little bit more interesting to look at. Okay. I'm gonna speed up the video while I do my cleanup work, and then I'll talk about coloring, because there's some specific things I wanna mention about coloring. So make sure you stick around for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the hair. Most people, remember this is a self-portrait, so it does need to be your hair. So in my case, my hair is a dark brown color, so I'm gonna be coloring dark brown. And those that have had me before kind of know that when you're dealing with hair has got multiple colors in it. So for people who have dark brown hair, you're gonna obviously want brown, but you're probably gonna want a little bit of black as well. If you have light brown hair, then you're gonna want brown done lightly, but you may want to move in with a little bit of yellow to give it, because you have probably slightly blonde streaks in there to help do it. You might want to practice the hair coloring on the back just to get yourself familiar with how that's going to work. Same thing with people like with red hair. Technically, most people do not actually have red hair. It's usually a red-orange color or an orangish color, but it might have more blonde mixed into it because it's really, really light, or it might be more toward the brown section, so you may have to mix in a little bit of brown. So you just have to be able to mix your colors. The other thing is you need to color the direction your hair is going. So in my case, my hair is kind of brushed downwards. So when I'm coloring my hair, I have to color the hair in that way, because all the marks that will be making up my hair are actually going to end up looking like the strands of hair. Okay? So I'm going to kind of fast forward as I do that part, and then we'll talk about skin tone. Okay, let's talk about skin tone now. Skin tone in general is some version of brown, whether it be a super light brown. So my skin tone here with my hand is a fairly light skin tone, but it still has an aspect of a brown to it. And if you have a tan color, that has a little bit of brown in it. We just happen to call it tan. Okay, so the variety of your skin tone is not going to be liquid paper white for most people. It's actually going to be a variation of a brown. If you have one that says light brown, that might be the way to go, and you just color extremely lightly. So I do not have one that is light brown, but if I take my colored pencil and I shade extremely lightly and just barely, I mean, I'm barely touching the paper with this. It gives it a much closer color to what my skin tone is. And obviously you'd have a variety, maybe slightly darker if you're in a sunny place, or things like that. If your skin tone's a bit darker, then you'd press a little bit harder. We want to avoid going too dark, because if you get too dark though, you will lose your features. So for me, I would actually outline with brown. I'm not going to outline with black because I don't have black lines on my face, so brown makes more sense for outlining things on my face. But if your skin tone happens to be a bit darker, then maybe black will work better for you as the outlining for like the nose. Eyebrows are usually the color of your hair, and then you'll have to do your own eyes at that point. Lips, for guys, keep it extremely light. You want to avoid putting red on there. So what I usually do is just give it almost the same skin tone color as my skin and leave it at that. I will go over the line right here with black, because that is the line for the opening of the mouth, and that tends to be a bit darker. Your ears and your neck need to be skin tone as well, so make sure that you're coloring accordingly like you should be. And then the rest of the picture is up to you as to what your colors are. So you need to make sure that you do your best to make the self-portrait part, which is the head, the hair, the eyes, the nose, mouth, obviously that you. And then the rest of the picture is pretty much up to you how you want it colored. Do not leave it blank white, so you will need to give, like here, I would give this a light color, maybe a really, really light blue, just to break up all this whiteness that's here. Okay? So you don't want to leave areas of white that are looking unfinished. An example where it would make sense to leave white is here. These cards here that are often in like display cases and stuff, those are often white, but then I would need to outline the card itself and then go over the lettering to make sure it looked good. Okay, so I am going to finish doing my face with very, very lightly with the brown. It is something that you probably want to practice, because some of you have a tendency to push really hard with colored pencil, and you need to be able to do it very, very lightly. Okay. And then go on to finishing the coloring for everything else. So I'll kind of fast forward as I'm working on this. Okay, so when you get done, just double check everything. Your background can be more complicated than mine. I did not get mine super complicated, because this is a lot of work just to color neatly and make it look good as it is. Right? When you're done, take a photo of it, upload it to Google Classroom, and I will see you next week.